Hello, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the J Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Nowakowski, and without further ado, let's get straight on into today's episode. So if you're watching on YouTube, you probably just saw my arm brace that I got on. So, I don't know if you guys saw it at all in the video I put up today, Sunday. But so I'll tell the story again. I told it on yesterday's podcast, but unfortunately the first 40 minutes of my recording with Jacob and George, which was all NBA talk before Jeopardy, that unfortunately got erased, or I can't find the file. I don't know what happened, but whenever I click on it on Zoom, it says the file doesn't exist. So I'll tell you it again. On Friday, I got 3 stitches in my hand right between my index finger and thumb. So I have some stitches in my hand, so that's what the brace is for. That's also why there's no backdrop. I know normally it's the banners and everything, but it's just going to be the garage because I don't have the capability or really energy to put all that up and get that all set up. So until I have the stitches removed, I'm gonna keep it that way and just have the background as my dad's as the garage. And yeah, so wanted to update you on that, tell you about what's going on, and but let's hop into the sports news. I just want to say, so yeah, yesterday's episode that got put out on Sunday, we had a ton of NBA talk, and that was so amazing and so great. And unfortunately, it is nowhere to be found now, so all I put up was the Jeopardy. But not to worry, I'm going to have George and Jacob back on soon. Also, I'm going to have hopefully Josh Rhodes join, and so that'll be all of the 2.5 Hoopers will be on the podcast, and we'll talk NBA and we'll get all that stuff out as well. But for today's episode, I'm going to talk about all the other sports, some of the news that's gone down in the past week or so. We have some MLB news going on. There actually is some NHL stuff I want to talk about, and it's all going to be, then the rest is going to be NFL. It's going to be a QB Carousel episode. I'm going to talk about the Carson Wentz trade and give some predictions on who else gets moved. So, without further ado, let's hop straight into today's episode. So, we're going to start today's episode in the MLB, where pitchers and catchers reported. Players are going to start reporting soon, and I believe the first spring training game is March 1st. If I'm not the Dodgers' first spring training game is March 1st. I know that. So that's pretty close. I know some games are a little bit earlier, but Dodgers start March 1st. And I'm so excited for baseball season. I'm so excited. As you can tell, I'm wearing the Dodger hat, and it's actually a special one. I got the spring training hat from this year, so there's the patch, Arizona 2021 patch on it, and I love this hat. I love the spring training design, the logo inside of the logo, but I'm so excited for baseball, and after spring training's over, before the regular season starts, of course I'm going to have an MLB predictions video coming out. Of course that's going to happen. I'm going to give you some of my favorites for the awards. Maybe I'll do some playoff predictions. Hopefully I can get a guest on, talk some baseball with me. I would love that. And yeah, I'm just super excited for baseball season, especially as a Dodgers fan. We got a lot. The Dodgers improved their pitching. They have a ton of offensive power on that team, and I think it's going to be a great year. And we have some competition with the Padres, and there's some other pretty good NL teams, but I'm going to save all that stuff for another episode. But just the news, pitchers and catchers reported, spring training starting up soon, and even though it's spring training, I'm still going to watch some of the games. I'm super excited. The other baseball news we have is Fernando Tatis Jr. Yeah, so we're staying in the NL West for baseball news for this episode. He signed it was a 14-year contract for $340 million, an extension with the Padres. I just want to make sure I get the numbers right on that because I don't want to misinform my listeners and my viewers. So I just need to double check because it was earlier last week. But Fernando Tatis getting paid, and I think it's a good contract both ways. Like, in all honesty, I really think it was a good contract for both teams. 14 years, $340 million contract extension. He is 22 years old, and he's getting a 14-year extension. Tatis is an electric player, super talented player, and really good. And he is he's already a star. He's the cover of MLB 21, the show. He makes the game more fun, and he is one of, if not the best shortstop in the MLB right now. There's a few other talented ones, but I think Tatis is up there and Seager's up there. I know they put Seager at, like, MLB did their rankings for positions and stuff, and I did not agree with it. And they did their top 100 players, and there were some things I didn't like about it, but I'm not gonna go into those because that'll just get me heated. So I think they had Seager ranked 6th among shortstops. I think him and Tatis are both top 3 or top 5 in the league. Tatis is definitely, I would probably put Tatis. I'm trying to think of any other shorts. Lindor. I'll put 1 right now. Tatis 2. That's what I'll do right now, but that could change. And Tatis is younger, and I think he has more potential. We know who Francisco Lindor is. He's a superstar. Tatis can be a superstar and then some. And so the Padres did the smart thing, locked him up early, and they locked him up for a while. And I say this is a good contract both ways, because Tatis is going to get his money, he's going to get paid, and he has a no trade clause. I don't believe there are any opt-outs. But from the Padres' standpoint, I think in the long run, they are going to save money on this deal. But at the same time, Tatis is going to be getting his fair share of money. It's not like they're getting him for cheap. They're going to be paying a good price for him. But in the long run, Tatis would have been a guy that would have asked for probably over $400 million. He would have wanted something like that, which I wouldn't blame him if he wanted that. He's Fernando Tatis. He would definitely get that money. But the Padres do the smart thing, lock him up early, so Tatis is going to feel needed because he is getting paid early, and he's going to be getting a nice payday. But on the Padres side of things, he is you're saving money in the long run. I really, truly do believe that. I truly do believe that they are saving money on Fernando Tatis by signing him now opposed to later when he would have had more power. I mean, the comparison to me is Dak Prescott in the NFL, and I know the NFL works, their contracts are a little bit different, but that's the way I look at it. Dak Prescott is, he's a good quarterback. You can bring up all the stats, whatever, the injuries, whatever. He is still a very good to great quarterback, and the Cowboys waited to pay him, and that was a mistake. The Padres did not wait to pay their superstar player. They locked him up early. They did the smart thing. So kudos to the Padres, and Dodger-Padre games, I've said it many times, but they're going to be so amazing in the coming years. This year the games are going to be good. Next year, as long as everyone's healthy, they're going to be amazing, and they're going to be amazing for a long, long time. And so Tatis gets 14 years, $340 million. That's really all the baseball news. You had a couple other small signings. I think the A's signed Trevor Rosenthal. Mets signed Taijuan Walker to a 2-year, $20 million contract. Some small signings. Justin Turner re-signed. Yeah, I forgot I haven't gone over that one. But yeah, Turner re-signed with the Dodgers. That was a little while ago, actually. Sorry I never got to cover that. But that's really all the baseball news that really happened. So get ready, baseball season. Spring is in the air. You can smell the spring air, and I am so excited for spring training and the start of this year's MLB season. Now, moving on, we're going to hit the ice at Lake Tahoe. Yes, the NHL had their Tahoe games this weekend, and that was some of the best outdoor hockey ever. I'm not like the games themselves were pretty good games, but the view, the pictures, the scenery was amazing, and there is nothing that has been better. You have all the Stadium Series games that have happened in the past where, they play at football fields, baseball fields, stuff like that, which they've been good and they've been fun to watch. But this is like you are at state line, and in Nevada technically, by Lake Tahoe. You have the backdrop of the snowy mountains and the lake, and then you had snow going on. It was so the games were, Saturday's game was between the Colorado Avalanche and Vegas Golden Knights. They only played 20 minutes, and then there were a lot of like potholes and ice was melting because of the sun. They weren't getting the cloud cover they thought they were going to get. And unfortunately, it caused the game to be delayed until 9 p.m. So they didn't restart. They started in the second period, started at 9 p.m. The game ended, I believe it was a 3-1 Colorado victory in the first game. And then in the second game later on, it was actually, that game was supposed to be played on Sunday at 11 a.m. That got moved to 4:30 on Sunday. So you got the sunset, which was freaking awesome. Between that game was between the Boston Bruins and the Philadelphia Flyers. Sorry. So that was a good game. So yeah. So Colorado won 3-2, not 3-1, 3-2. And they were in the reverse retros, both teams, and for both games as well. Boston and the Flyers were both in the reverse retro jerseys. Boston won 7-3, a little bit more of a blowout. They scored 3 goals in 90-something seconds. That was insane. But I think if the NHL is smart, this should be the regular. You find and I know the hard part is going to be, okay, well, where are we going to put stands for the fans, that kind of thing, which I totally understand, and that is going to be an issue if they decide to move forward with that. But the views that Lake Tahoe brought were absolutely stunning. I mean, just look up pictures, say Lake Tahoe hockey or NHL game played at Lake Tahoe, and just look at some of the photos. They are stunning, amazing views. And the cool part was you had some canoers ride over to kind of like, I don't know if they really got a great view of the game, but they were there and the NBC cameras were on them and they were drinking their alcohol and having a good time. One guy had a sign that said he'll polar plunge for a reverse retro Vegas jersey. Don't know if he ever did or if he ever got it. But you had some crazy fun people out there. But what my point here is, I think the NHL should look at what happened at Lake Tahoe and go, okay, this was very successful. The views were amazing. It's better than the backdrop of a football stadium. And if we can somehow figure out to put in like temporary stands and fit fans in here too, that would be amazing. Or maybe you just say, you know what, these games are just going to be televised only, because that way we can get the best views possible. And I'd be okay with that. I know there would be some people that wouldn't be okay with that. Me personally, I would be totally fine if the NHL said, we're going to do Stadium Series games. We're going to find some beautiful places of land to put these games on, but we probably won't have any fans. I'd be okay with that. Even like for the future, I'd be okay with that. If they could find a way to put in stands, that's great. That's amazing. Cool. But the views of Lake Tahoe this weekend were stunning. There was a slow-mo of one of Boston's goals scored, and in the background of the net, and then you see the snowy mountains. It was just stunning and absolutely beautiful. If you didn't get a chance to watch any of the games, watch the highlights. Just watch the highlights. It was so stunning, both games. So super well done. Kudos to the NHL. That is something they have always done right, is the outdoor hockey games, and it's something they take good advantage of because no other sport can really do that, Football has their London and Mexico City games. NBA has their international games that they've done in the past, but they don't do, the NHL is the only one who can go, we're going to go outdoors where it's going to maybe be snowy weather and play hockey. It always is like, well, that this is how we grew up, pond hockey. That's how a lot of NHL players grew up in Canada, playing on ponds in lakes. So NHL does a great job at it every single year, and this year is my favorite year. by far. I mean, the only other year that I would say could contend with Lake Tahoe was the Winter Classic between, I think it was Buffalo and Pittsburgh. It was like, I think it was like one of the first Winter Classics, if not the first. It went all the way to a shootout. Pittsburgh had those awesome blue jerseys. That is the only one that I think can really contend with the Lake Tahoe games that were played this weekend. So go give those a watch if you didn't watch them. And if you did watch them, shoot me a DM on Instagram or comment on this on YouTube and let me know your thoughts. If you agree, if you disagree, if you like the idea of doing more Lake Tahoe scenic games, even if it involves no fans being there. The other NHL news, this is very Anaheim Ducks centric, but very big news nonetheless. So the first move that happened, Adam Henrique has cleared waivers, and he is no longer an Anaheim Duck. Which is kind of a bummer. They signed him to a pretty big contract just last year or 2 years ago. And he hasn't produced a lot this year, and, he was a healthy scratch, and the rumors were they're trying to trade him, and I guess they didn't really find the trade they wanted, or no one wanted him. So they said, we're going to put him on waivers, where the Ducks probably aren't going to, win a lot. So they said, let's get up some young guys and give them some experience. And one of the guys coming up is Trevor Zegras. Oh, I am so excited for Trevor Zegras. Zegras Mania is coming to Anaheim. So if you don't know who Trevor Zegras is, he was the Vikings. My goodness, Josh. I'm already thinking about the football I'm going to talk. He is the Anaheim Ducks. He was their first round pick in the 2019 NHL draft. He was picked 7th overall? Maybe set. I want to say 7th overall, 7th or 8th, because I remember it was like the Kings and Ducks were flip-flopped. It was the Kings picked first, and then I think it was the Ducks. But anyways, so he was drafted to the Anaheim Ducks. I know he was first round, and so it was Zegras was selected by the Anaheim Ducks with the 9th pick in the 2019 draft. 9th pick. And he's played at the World Juniors the past 2 years, and he set some World Junior records. One for most points, so he's tied for most points at the World Juniors. He did it in 8 less games though than the person he's tied with. And in San Diego this year, he's played in 8 games, 9 points. He's had some really spectacular goals. He had a really amazing shootout goal. He had another great goal. It was a few nights ago, because this is going up on Monday. So I think it was Saturday night he had this wicked goal. He literally, he got the puck and then, flew it in midair and then let it drop and then shot it. It was really a crazy goal. Anyways, he's a very highly touted prospect, a big part of Anaheim's future, and I'm so excited to see him hit the ice. I hope he plays on Monday. If not, it'll probably be Wednesday against Arizona, but I'm hoping it's Monday. He talked with the media today, and he just seems excited to hit the ice, and I'm super excited to see him in a Ducks uniform. Hopefully he can bring some of that magic to the Anaheim Ducks offense, because the Ducks offense has really been struggling this year. So hopefully he can bring some life to the Anaheim Ducks offense and play well. But I'm super excited to see what Trevor Zegras can do in a Ducks uniform, and I can't wait. And Ducks fans should be excited to see him hit the ice, because he is an electric player and can be a superstar player for the Anaheim Ducks. So that's all that happened in the NHL. Now we're going to get into the meat, the bone. This is the big part of the episode, is NFL quarterback carousel. So this episode is coming out a couple days late. I originally was going to record Friday, had the stitches situation, so didn't. I pushed it back a little bit, also because I did want to do this on Friday, but it was because I wanted to get the predictions out before trades happened, and then one of the trades happened, so I was like, okay, I think it can wait a little bit, because I think it's going to be a little bit until we have any other movement. But just for my listeners, just in case anything happens tonight or before this episode goes up, I am recording this at 11:22 p.m. Sunday, February 21st. So, first, Carson Wentz was traded to the Indianapolis Colts for a third-round pick and a second-round pick, but the second round can turn into a first round if he takes 75% of the snaps all season. So, unless he gets injured, he's going to that pick will be a first round pick most likely. Unless he gets injured, then it'll be a second round pick to Philadelphia. So the Colts have their future quarterback, and he is back with Frank Reich, where he had his best offensive year. I think this is a great trade for the Colts. They did not have to give up much, and they have a quarterback who, in my opinion, is still very talented. Frank Reich is a great offensive coordinator. He is a very smart man, and he was there for Wentz's best year. So, here's what I'm going to add about this. The two teams that were interested were the Chicago Bears and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, both teams have staff members from Philadelphia's staff during it was Chicago Bears and Indianapolis Colts. And both teams have members from the Eagles staff during Wentz's best season. But Wentz made it very clear. He said, I do not want to go to Chicago. I will not go to Chicago. And he gets traded to Indy. So that's very telling to me that the people that are in Chicago, Wentz did not like or did not get along with, or he felt they did not help him. But he says Indianapolis, yeah, Frank Reich, Carson Wentz knows what he wants. He wants to be with Frank Reich again. And honestly, I know his contract's pretty big, but the Eagles are taking $33 million in dead cap this year. So you're literally having $33 million that you can't spend on a quarterback that isn't going to be on your team. Absolutely bonkers. But I'm happy for Carson Wentz. I am excited for him in Indianapolis because, let's be honest, Philadelphia is a very pressure market. They are very serious about their sports fans, and they take their sports very, very seriously. So, there's a lot of pressure playing in Philadelphia. And Carson Wentz is having an MVP-like season, and then he gets injured and is out for the year. Nick Foles leads him to a Super Bowl, and they build a statue of Nick Foles. And Carson Wentz has to drive to work every day looking at that Nick Foles statue on really a great year that he had. And there's always so much pressure playing in Philadelphia. And some players can handle it, some players can't. I'm not holding Wentz down for not being able to play well in Philadelphia. I think some fault was Doug Peterson. I think he was a big issue in Philadelphia, and he was part of Wentz's downfall in Philadelphia. And then each week it was, let's bring in Hurts. It's Hurts time. It's time to bring in Hurts. And that was just that's all he ever heard in Philadelphia. And Indianapolis, they do take their sports seriously. They're passionate fans, but it's not the pressure like Philadelphia is. And being paired up with with Frank Reich again, I think Carson Wentz is going to have a good year. And I think he's going to have a really good year. And with that Colts elite defense and the weapons that he has, Jonathan Taylor at running back, then you still have T.Y. Hilton, and then you have Michael Pittman Jr., there's the name. You also have, I believe, Zach Pascal. I believe he was injured, but he's still very talented. So you have weapons there, you have talent there, and I'm super excited to see what Carson Wentz, what he does in Indianapolis. But so I was gonna do this episode this was coming out. I was gonna do this coming week. And it was gonna be I was gonna list a bunch of quarterbacks and give them where I think they're gonna be moved to this off season before. So the premise of it is before regular season week 1, they will be on this team. So, and I had Carson Wentz going to Indianapolis. Unfortunately, the video did not get out in time before the trade happened. So I didn't get that one because I didn't put it out on time. Oh well. So I'm going to do it now. I'm going to give a list of the quarterbacks that now are expected to be moved, rumored to be moved, could be moved. Give you where I think they're going to go, my opinions, my thoughts, all of that. And then during my football season preview at the beginning of next year, we'll see how many I got right, how many I got wrong. So let's start out with the first name, and he's been rumored to a few teams, and that is Sam Darnold. So Sam Darnold of the New York Jets, he's rumored to be traded. Jets have the second overall pick, and the expectation is that they're going to take Zach Wilson. In my honest opinion, if I am the Jets, I'd keep Sam Darnold and draft him an offensive weapon because they don't have many on that team, if any at all. So, but they're the Jets. I don't think they're going to do that. And I know a lot of people criticize Sam Darnold. My defense is he has never gotten a real chance there. He has had Adam Gase as his head coach. He has had crappy ownership, and he hasn't had any damn weapons. So I know everyone makes fun of his, I'm seeing ghost, all this shit, and he's injury prone. Like, I will give you that he is injury prone, but the man has never had a fair shot. Let's be honest. He has never had a fair chance. He has never had a coach who really believed in him or even, for one, cared, Adam Gase. And he's had a real crappy ownership who, again, hasn't given two shits. So he's never been given a real chance. So Sam Darnold, the rumors are possibly Pittsburgh, Washington football team, and Chicago. Now, in my opinion, I think the most likely scenario is the Bears, Chicago. And that is because the Bears struck out on Carson Wentz, who I think they thought they were going to get. The Bears, I don't think they're going to get Deshaun Watson, and they don't want Nick Foles, and I don't think they want to bring Mitchell Trubisky back, and I don't think Trubisky wants to come back. So that's where I do this. And, Washington might make a push for him, but I think Chicago is the most likely scenario Sam Darnold ends up. And, you're going to get Matt Nagy. You're going to have some weapons on that team. You're going to have a damn good defense. Sam Darnold, again, I think he's going to have a pretty good season. And if he comes back and he has a really bad year, then you know what? Oh, well, I was wrong. That's okay. But I still believe there's talent in him. And I think he could still be a really good quarterback. So, Sam Darnold, that's my first one off the board, going to the Chicago Bears. Now, my next one, Deshaun Watson. Yes, he is going to be moved, people. I know a lot of people, Houston, we're not going to get rid he's on this team, we're not trading him, all this. Dude, and everyone's like, Deshaun's not going to sit, he's bluffing. He's not bluffing. Deshaun wants out. J.J. Watt got out of there, Deshaun wants out, and he will take those fees and penalties all day. He will sit out until he is traded, and I think Washington needs to be very smart about this. I think Houston needs to be very smart about this and trade him when his value is the highest, which is now. Because if you're going to wait till after training camp and all this, where he's starting to sit out and stuff, the price is going to get a little bit lower. I tell you that right now. The price is going to get a little bit lower because people know, he wants to be moved. He's going to get moved, and the price will be lower. So, Houston, trade him now. Now, I know there have been rumors about, maybe San Francisco, maybe Denver. So, San Francisco said the only way we're trading Jimmy G is to get Watson. Supposedly that's what their thinking is. I don't know. I don't see that. I know I made an episode saying that San Francisco would be the best possible destination for Deshaun. I just don't know if it happens. For some reason, I'm not feeling it'll happen. That's just in my gut. I just don't feel like it'll happen. Then a lot of people the odds have gone way up on Denver. What does Denver have? See what they have. Okay, so they have offensive weapons. They have a lot of good weapons on offense. Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy, and they have a couple, Cortland Sutton. They have a couple really good receivers. And, then your running back, you have You have Melvin Gordon, Phillip Lindsay. But I just... And then your quarterback, Drew Lock. Houston does not want Drew Lock. I can tell you that right now. Houston does not want Drew Lock as their quarterback. So I take Denver out of the running. And this team, they've said they're going to be very aggressive. They've already cleared cap space to do this. And I think they're going to land him. And that is the Carolina Panthers. That's right. So I think it's going to be the Carolina Panthers. And that is because they have the draft picks and they have the talent to trade away, and now they have the cap space to take him on. And the reason Houston would like Carolina the most is you're gonna get a top 10 pick in return. They have the 8th overall pick, and they have a viable, good quarterback that you can take for a year, and then his contract is up, and then you can either draft your future with their 8th pick, which would probably be a Trey Lance or Justin Fields at that point, or you re-sign. So Teddy has one more year in his contract, so you can have 1 year of Teddy, have someone develop under him, or you just roll with Teddy and you draft something else, and then you find a new QB next year. So I think that Teddy Bridgewater is going to be traded with some picks and possibly some other players to Houston for Deshaun Watson. So I think Deshaun Watson ends up in Carolina. Now, the next quarterback I'm going to be talking about is, I said Jimmy Garoppolo, and I already kind of told my answer. I think he stays. Now, there were rumors about him going, maybe Belichick wants him back. I don't know if he does. I think they roll with 1 more year with Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Kyle Shanahan says, all right, you've been injured, there's been some issues and injuries, all that. I think they say, all right, you got 1 more year to prove that you are our guy, you are our quarterback, and if you can't do that, then we'll trade you. Even if we don't get what we could get now, we want to see if you still have some talent left, if you have anything left in the tank for us. If you don't, then we'll trade you. So I think Jimmy G stays in San Francisco for one more season, I should say. And they're going to bring out in 1 more year to see if they can win with him. Now, next quarterback is Ben Roethlisberger, Big Ben. So there's a lot of rumors going around. He is a $41 million cap hit, and Steelers GM owner have said, if he's going to play for us, it's going to be on a lesser deal. There's no way he's going to play. And also they signed Dwayne Haskins. I have them signing a different quarterback as well, which I'll get to after this. So Big Ben has said he wants to play. I don't know what team wants him. I thought maybe San Francisco would want him, but I really think they're going to roll with Jimmy G for 1 more season. And it's maybe New England. No, I don't know. I don't know what New England's going to do at quarterback. In all honesty, I have no idea who they're going to have. I don't think they want to keep Cam, and I don't think Cam stays. But so I'm looking at Ben Roethlisberger's situation. I don't know if Pittsburgh necessarily wants him back. I don't know if they do. I think they want to try and get younger and see what they have talent-wise with Haskins and the next quarterback I'm going to talk about. So here's my Ben Roethlisberger prediction. He retires. I think Ben Roethlisberger will retire in the end, and he is done in the NFL. That is my prediction. Retired/free agent is what I'll say for Ben Roethlisberger. Now, next quarterback, and he will compete for the starting job with Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins, is Mitchell Trubisky. Yes, I think the Steelers like what they have in Dwayne Haskins, and they want to try him out, but they want some competition just in case Haskins really just isn't good there. They want to have a good backup, and I don't think they think Mason Rudolph is a solution. So I think they're going to make a hardcore push for Mitchell Trubisky. I think Washington will make a hardcore push for Mitchell Trubisky as well. they have Washington has Kyle Allen. They signed Taylor Heinicke and Alex Smith. I hope they roll with Heinicke. I really hope they do. I don't have Washington picking up any of the quarterbacks I'm going to name. There's only 2 left after this, but I hope they roll with Heinicke and just see what they have with him. You never know. Sometimes you find they signed him into a 2-year, $8.5 million contract. See what you got in him. You know who Kyle Allen is and you know who Alex Smith is. I would roll with Taylor Heinicke. But anyways, back to Mitchell Trubisky. I think the Steelers are going to make a hardcore push for him, and I don't think Trubisky wants to be in Chicago. He's going to have options. There will be a team that will want to take him on and just see, like, hey, maybe this guy has some talent in our offense. So I think he goes to Pittsburgh, and there is a quarterback battle between Haskins, Mason Rudolph, and Trubisky. And, I mean, I think, the Steelers just got to see what they got for the future. So that's where I think. Next one is Dak Prescott. So I'll just keep it simple. I think he stays in Dallas, honestly. I don't know if they franchise tag him or sign him to a long-term deal. I think Jerry knows Jerry has said Dak has all the power, and I just think they're scared to pay him. I think they're scared to pay Dak Prescott, and they're going, damn, we should have paid him 2-3 years ago. Shit, we would have saved some money. And yes, you would have, Jerry Jones. So, I think they're sitting there scratching their heads going, shit, what are we going to do? Damn, And, you shot yourselves in the foot. You should have done this 2 or 3 years ago. And now you're in this really bad spot where your starting quarterback got injured, and you need to either franchise tag him or sign him up for a long-term deal. And and you can't say, well, we have a good backup. Well, your backup's Andy Dalton, and he wasn't bad, but he is a free agent as well, and he can go anywhere he wants. So Dallas is in a really bad. So I think he stays in Dallas. I think Dak stays in Dallas. I think it's a franchise tag, though. For some reason, I just feel like they're not going to give Dak the offer he deserves or wants. And I think he gets franchise tagged. Honestly, that's just my opinion. I think he's going to get franchise tagged. So Dak stays in Dallas. Now, the final part of my episode, the last quarterback that I think will be moved. And there hasn't been a ton of rumblings about it, but there has been someone that's talked about it, and I'm gonna keep it going. Kirk Cousins, Minnesota Vikings quarterback. Now, I know there has been a lot of rumors. Oh, Jimmy G possibly. No. One team who has been interested and there have been reports about is Denver. Yeah, and I think this is the most realistic situation. So I'm just going to go over some of the basic details. So, Kirk Cousins to Denver for, I don't know if it's Drew Lock or just a draft pick or whatever, but the Broncos' current GM was the Vikings' assistant GM and apparently had a lot of say with Rick Spielman. So I don't know where he stands on Kirk Cousins. I've heard that he really, really likes him, but I don't know that for sure. So, but he was an assistant GM for the Vikings for a long, long time. And now he's in Denver. And Denver needs an upgrade at quarterback desperately because Drew Lock is not the solution for them. And I think they want to make a move. Denver said they want to make a move for a top-tier quarterback. Now, is Kirk Cousins a top-tier elite quarterback? No, he's not. But look at the market. Compared to the market, he's probably a top-tier quarterback if he's on the market, which in this scenario he is. So that's where I say Denver is in on Kirk Cousins. And my friends at Score North, I was on their Purple Daily podcast to do their Write That Down segment. So they came out with something that kind of really got this thing moving, and a lot of people gave them shit for this, and I don't understand why. It was a reckless speculation, but it had some meaning to it. So, so they were doing a whole reckless speculation episode, and one of the guys, Declan, brought up, hey, Denver wants to upgrade at quarterback. Like, do we just throw Kirk Cousins out to throw Kirk Cousins out? And then one of the other guys, Judd, he said, well, okay, he said, a listener of ours, he is he has inside information and it's his lifestyle. So where I hear that, he's a reporter of some sorts or some kind, which makes sense. He says it's his lifestyle. Okay. So, and he says there is like some sort of turmoil or disagreement is a better word, a disagreement between the front office, between the higher-ups in the Vikings organization. And by that, on Kirk Cousins. And so what he says he feels is that the GM Spielman and Zimmer might want to move off of Kirk, but the owners don't. Now, the owner said, this is your guy. This is the guy you said can lead us to the Super Bowl. Why do you want to give up on him? Now, they signed Kirk to a 2-year extension last year. It was a dumb extension. It was not the smartest move. And then Kirk redid his deal. Reconstructed. There's the word. Reconstructed his deal. So Score North's whole thing was their theory is, okay, they need to clear cap space for this year. So they go to Kirk and ask for him to restructure again. And maybe Kirk says no, like I did it last year. F you guys. Now it's like, okay, now you got to trade him because next year his cap hit is $45 million. That is way too much to pay him. Way too much to pay him. So their preface is some people wanted to trade him, some people don't in the front office. And no one knows if they've gone to Kirk's camp or not and asked for a restructure. But if they haven't, they need to. And then Judd says the note that he got from the listener that has insider information was that the Vikings have received calls about Kirk Cousins' availability, and one team who has called is Denver. So that right there, that links Denver and Minnesota. Denver wanting Kirk. Now, I think this actually happened. I think Spielman I think this is how I think the conversation went. Denver called and said, "Hey, what's going on with Kirk?" Spielman's like, "Okay, ownership wants to keep him. I'm cool with moving him, but I need to convince ownership it's the right move." He goes, "Don't talk to anyone else. Just give me a few days. I need to convince ownership this is the right thing to do." And Spielman's going to go to ownership, say, "Hey, look, we can get the Broncos whatever draft pick they offer. If they offer their first round, it's the number 9 pick." He's like, "Okay, so we can get 9 and 14. We might be able to take Drew Lock from them." And I know you're thinking, well, Drew Lock's not a good QB. And I agree. Drew Lock is not a great QB. But sometimes you got to take one step back to take 2 steps forward, right? Think about the cap space that would clear if you get rid of Kirk Cousins. They could actually go sign some offensive linemen, Joe Thuney. They could sign some good players and build around Drew Lock, and maybe he performs better with a better offensive line. Who knows? But sometimes you got to take one step back to take 2 steps forward. So that's where I see Minnesota should move off of Kirk. Will they? I hope so. I don't know if they do. But if Denver has offered them, and Denver's saying, "We want Kirk," trade him. I know, take 1 step back to take 2 steps forward. So that's all I got on the quarterbacks possibly being moved. So at the beginning of the season, we'll look at those, see how many I got right, see how many I got wrong. I think this is something fun to do. I love doing this. It makes me happy to talk about all this. But that's all I have for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you're listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube, or even listening on Apple, I really do appreciate every viewer, every listener, every like, all of that, every follower. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate every single one of you. And just thank you so much for all the support. Follow me on Spotify and subscribe to me on YouTube or also on Apple Podcasts. Follow me on Instagram at j_sports_podcast. And until next time, this has been Joshua Nowakowski of the J Sports Podcast. Peace.